you a student, mentor, or parent that loves robotics? Then you're in the right place. Up-to-date info on all things robotics. This is the Robozone Podcast with your host, Pete Ekman. The Robozone Podcast is brought to you by Kettering University. It's a Kettering-built world.
Hello and welcome to the 35th episode of the Robozone Podcast. This podcast is for Tuesday, October 10th. In this episode, we listen to another seminar given by the EngiNerds about team contracts. So, get your favorite drink, get your favorite popcorn, and get ready for the episode. But before we continue, we're going to hear from our secondary sponsor.
The Robozone Podcast is brought to you by AndyMark.com, your robot parts experts.
All right, so team application. Going to what you said, everyone has a reason why they could require a team application or not require a team application. We instituted team applications in 2014 was the first year that we did it on our team because our students were greater than our resources. We had so many students. We started our first team meeting in 2014. We had 72 kids show up. We meet, how big is our back room? Like,
I don't know.
20 by 20? How big is the back room?
30 by 30, maybe.
It's not big.
But there's
It's
a bunch of stuff.
probably a third or half the size of this room where we meet. The EngiNerds do not have as many resources as everybody thinks the EngiNerds have. We just build within our means so we are more successful. Yeah.
As opposed to saying absolute numbers of team members, do you have a preferred mentor to student, mentor to team member ratio that you think would be?
When we go on field trips, our school requires us, if we are doing an overnight out of state, our school requires us to have a 1-to-8 ratio, but that is for chaperones.
But
On our team,
For
we
mentoring.
try
in the
to,
shop.
yeah. So on our team, what we try to do is our 16 subsections, we try to have a mentor in charge of each one of those
So,
subsections.
to give you the number that you're asking for, I personally like
Well,
1 to 4.
16 sections.
34 divided by 6.
Yeah.
So it actually
2 to
ends
3.
up being about 1 to 2 or 1 to 3.
Yeah.
I would say like 1 to 4 would be the max, ideally, right? The max. It depends on the role, right? Some things you want to have like 2 students working with 1 mentor, right?
Like on a mill.
Yeah, on machines and stuff like that. But a lot of it, like a 1 to 4 isn't bad. That way the 2 students can be working and the mentor can flow between the 2. I mean, if you really want to get down to the numbers of it, if you have an odd number, then what happens is you end up having the one guy out while the mentor works with the other 2. You know what I mean? So like 4 to 1, like 4 students for every 1 mentor. But we've never, we haven't always had that. I mean, there's back in the day, we would have like 4 to 5 mentors, and that's about it for 30 to 40 students.
And during our off season,
Now we have about 10 to 12.
during our
mentors.
off season, I would say on any given day we have 30 to 35 students at a meeting, and 4 mentors maybe are there.
When?
Off season, it's like you, me, and Kathy, Tony,
Marty,
Marty.
Glenn,
Oh yeah.
Sean, Robin, Ryan.
We're crazy.
there last week.
We're crazy.
10 people.
What?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I was there last week and there were
10
like
adults,
10
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's changed in the last 2 years. Our mentor, involvement has increased, and things are honestly.
I started delegating more, and
Things have been falling into place where we are having the mentors in the right positions that we need to have them in order to be so, to the point where, you have to know me very well for this, but this season we had a situation down on the field where we weren't getting communications, and I didn't know what to do, and that doesn't happen normally. I in the previous 9 years that we've been in existence, I always knew how to deploy code, and I knew what was wrong, and I come in and this is what we do. I had to I was like,
you were not an all-knowing being.
hey, where's Sean? Sean, we need someone over here. I don't know what to do. I don't know what this isn't working. So but that's good from a leader standpoint, is that we're getting to the point where even
Where the robot has probably played matches and they didn't even call you because they.
So because the students and mentor, they're taking care of it. I don't have to be there, which is great. So anyways.
So yeah, like Jeremy, you've been to our meetings and stuff. You kind of know the dynamic of the EngiNerds, that we started requiring this application for our students to be on the team, and we saw amazing results. which you're trying to think like, how could that possibly be? Aren't you gonna scare people away? Maybe, possibly, but we've actually found the opposite is true. Because creating an expectation raises the bar for students, right? We had a time on our team where with recruiting, we do a lot of our recruiting by word of mouth. Who you have recruiting is the kind of people that you will get. So if you have students that are hardworking, dedicated people, are the ones that are there recruiting and talking about how inspired they are, those are the kind of students that you're going to attract. And by us switching to a team application, that allowed every single student on our team to find a role where they wanted to be on our team and be passionate about that and recruit people to that area of our team more successfully.
A good example of that is you don't make the football team by not trying out, right? If a football team has tryouts for their team in order to make it, why can a robotics team or some other, sport of the mind also have more or less a tryout application to say, are you in it? Are you in this to do this? Do you really want to do this, or just want to hang out and travel with the team? We don't want people, sorry to say it in this way, but we don't want people just that want to travel to St. Louis or to go get out of school free. We don't want that. We don't want to be babysitters, right? In the early stages of our team, there was times that we had people on the team where.
Dead weight.
Yep.
I mean.
I'd rather have 20 amazing students than to have 60 of them and 20 of them still do the work and 40 of them are distracted. Like I'm not trying to say that. I just that's just our feeling on it.
Not that every student doesn't have value added.
Yeah.
But at some point
Or
it
to
becomes,
inspire them.
Yes, because there are some students who show up and don't do anything but are actually really being inspired. But there comes a point where it's a safety concern, it's a resource concern, it's a liability, and say you make it to the world championship and you gotta get on a bus. How many people put on a bus? 52.
How many students do we have our limit set to? 40. How many mentors can we have? 20.
There's your ratio. 40 students to 12 seats of mentors.
Our number of 40 was picked for a reason. It was picked because of a bus. If we ever had to do a bus, that's what we wanted. We wanted one bus. We didn't want to buy two. There's times, I think, in the community that certain people don't like that we have a limit. Some people think that it's stifling, it's not encouraging.
That's why we have 6 JV teams. We turn away no one from our junior varsity team.
So
if a student just wants to come and hang out,
they can do VEX.
they can do that.
We have 6 VEX teams. Our middle schools have, the 2 middle schools that we have, they have 10 VEX teams amongst the 2 of them. So
we have 2 middle schools with 1,000 kids at each.
yeah. So what was happening was we were having the middle school VEX feed into us.
Right.
And they were at almost such a high ratio that we needed to filter more or less of who really was there to do robotics and who just said, I did robotics in middle school, I'm just gonna keep doing the same old because it was fun, we got to travel, so we're trying to filter that out, and applications and some of the other stuff we do on the team help do that. So we only really have 3 applications going.
So the 3 applications that we have on our team, one is for joining the FRC team, one is for our student section leader position. So the 16 subsections that I talked about earlier, we actually have a student assigned to lead every single one of those. We have a mentor and a student assigned to lead every single one of those. And they earn this position, okay?
Sometimes we do job interviews with them if there's more than one student that applies. And that
We make them get letters of recommendation and fill out an application and come in for a professional interview. It's really funny when they walk in and they're expecting to see me and Clint. And they walk in and we're like, hello, it's very nice to meet you. Please go ahead and have a seat. We'll discuss your application. I see here that you've done this, and they're like, it's kind of funny.
Most of them said it's scarier, having an interview with us was scarier than their first job interview. That's what they said.
So do you always have those students, well, if you have all those JV teams, I guess you would. If you have, because you're drawing from, how many people to get your 40 on your team? Because if you only have 32 people, but you have 16 leaders, then half of your team are leaders. So I'm just curious if you always fill all those roles. But I guess if you have all those JV teams, you have a lot.
Yeah, our JVs around 52 to 60 is what our JVs start at. People trail off, stop coming, that kind of stuff, and more or less they filter down. And we would accept 40, but it filters down to about 32 that do everything necessary to join.
Last year we had 36 kids on the team.
Yeah.
So we have 40 spots available, only 36.
And the year before I think was 32, so that's why I keep saying
Yes.
32.
Yep.
There's a lot to join your team.
What?
Sorry?
There's a lot to join your team. Like
It sounds like a lot of work, Jeremy. Is it really that much work? Like, I keep talking to Jeremy.
Because he's been hanging out with the
Jeremy's been hanging out with us for a year. He posted a very awesome rookie team last year, and we were friends.
Well, you go into what?
Yes, I do go into
So,
what
so
the application
my
is.
favorite actually is attending IRI, right?
Oh, look, there's our sign.
Yeah.
That's our sign. This is
Yeah.
literally the sign in the yard of the place where we built. Like,
So the IRI application is actually my favorite, is because we're the realist, if you will, with that application. That application, go ahead. Sorry.
Silly question, what's IRI?
Oh, so, I'm sorry.
the Indiana Robotics Invitational.
Yeah, it's down in Indiana. It's
In July?
70 to 74 teams. The teams have to apply to go, and they have to be accepted. It's basically the best of the best in the whole first. Like, you have to be accepted to it.
Like
Usually, the best way to
scores?
say it, if you don't win a district event, you're probably not going to IRI. So that's kind of the realm, right? But even people that win also don't make it as well.
Scores were over 500 points.
Yeah, they're
at
like,
IRI this year for this.
and they they changed some of the rules, so
True.
some of the rules make it where you can get higher, but it also makes the task hard, whatever. Anyways, IRI, it's a big thing. We travel down there, we take a very small group, but what we do in that application is we're just straight down to brass tacks of it is
I've
like,
got all the questions for all of our applications in here.
okay, well, we basically say, what did you do for the team and what are you going to do there? And some people are just like, I have to say what I did for the team? I don't know if I want to apply for this. Go ahead.
All right, so all of our applications that we do, I'll kind of blow through this kind of quick because I know I want to get into the other stuff. All right, so every application that we do on our team, we use Google Forms. Google is like the heart of the EngiNerds. All of our stuff that we do is on Google Forms. So all these applications I'm showing you, I actually just copy pasted all the questions from last year's applications that the EngiNerds did. Now, I go back to the fact that these are our questions. You are more than welcome to use them. You are absolutely 100% allowed to go onto the EngiNerds website and copy paste these questions onto your own team's application. I don't claim executive rights to that. However, we circle back to just because we do it doesn't mean you should do it, and just because we do it does not mean it's right for you. And you need to take what you learn here and transfer it to the appropriate thing for your own team. Okay? So on the EngiNerds, our team application looks a lot like a job application. So this is another instance where the EngiNerds are not just teaching a kid something. We are raising young adults that are going to be prepared for life once they leave our team. They have filled out an application. They have gone to an interview. They have made a resume for us, who are going to encourage them but also be critical of them to improve them, right? So you're just going to collect things like a name. The year they're graduating. On a regular application, it's going to be their birthday, right? Their areas of interest. So on a job application, they're going to be talking about what job are you applying for. On the EngiNerds, we ask about what other activities do you participate in. Not that we discourage them from being in band or sports or yearbook or dance or whatever else they're in, but it's helpful for us to know from a coach's perspective what else our team is involved in for a dedication standpoint.
We've had rugby players, football players, captain of the basketball team, band members, soccer members, anime club members, POM, we have one right now, yearbook, yeah, like, so we've had the collection of everything, and they still do both at the same time, so.
And then we ask them about their time, dedication, and availability. We say our team meets Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sundays. Which days are you available? We ask them about their robotics experience. We ask them, were you on maybe a Lego team in elementary school? Were you on either our middle school FTC teams or our middle school VEX team? Have you had experience at the high school VEX level? Maybe we have people who have moved from other school districts where they have been in robotics since they were in kindergarten. So gathering this information is really beneficial for us because it allows us to build on the knowledge that they already have and kind of also squash some of the knowledge that they already have, because every team does things differently, and just because you worked at McDonald's doesn't mean you know how to work at Burger King, right? So, self-assessment essays. This is like my favorite thing that we do on all of our applications. So, for us, self-assessment are questions that have no right or wrong answer. It's not like we're leading into it and saying, to do this, you must do this. What have you done? It's open-ended questions that make our students have to think about themselves, make them assess themselves, think about the things that they've done and whether or not they were valuable. Then it also gives them an opportunity to express their opinions, because our students tell us sometimes the guy with the beard and the mean lady were intimidating apparently to talk to.
I don't know why.
That's scary, right? But when they're sitting in front of a computer or a keyboard, they're not afraid to express their opinions. They're not afraid to say things, and this gives them the format and the venue in order to do that.
Do you talk about some of the other ones? I don't know if you do or not.
What
So
about
sorry if
some
I
of the
steal your thunder. Sometimes we do even funny ones on there.
Oh yes, they're all in here.
Okay.
I copy pasted every application.
Okay,
on
go
here.
ahead.
Right here. All right, so our FRC team application, we have two kind of sections of our application. All of our applications pretty much have that whole like name, yada 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 yada.
And if you're looking to do applications, it could be just that first one and that's it, right? We try to push it further. Once again, this is the first way to quickly say, are you really interested in this? Are you going to take the 5 to 10 minutes to fill out this form to do this? If so, then let's keep talking. Go ahead, Amanda.
Because your whole purpose of getting an application could just be number 4, to gain information about students, to get their phone number, to get their email address, to get those kind of things. That could be the purpose in your application, and it makes your life a whole lot easier because every person that's on your team had to fill that out. So it's no more, oh, I can't call Johnny because I don't have his phone number because he had to fill this application out.
What's your question in the back?
My question is, when are the applications available and when are they due?
I think they're due in November.
The FRC student applications will be open Monday, November 28th, 2016, and usually I have them open for about a week.
Okay.
So
There's other stuff on our team that she'll get into here in a bit that they have to do before they can apply.
I do not talk about deliverables.
Okay, well, we have these things called deliverables that the students have to do in order to apply. They cannot apply if they have not completed their deliverables.
Which are just training exercises.
So once again, we started with the application early on, and then later on we added another phase in, which is deliverables before the application. We can talk about that at the end.
Yeah.
Or something.
That's a whole.
That's like a whole presentation.
That's like 3 hours.
Yeah,
So.
yeah.
All right. So for new team members, we ask them things like, how did you hear about the team? Why do you like robotics? Why do you want to be on the team? What mentor are you most looking forward to working with? What skills do you possess that are going to help our team? What contributions do you plan to make? Are you interested in becoming a student section leader? We can have our first year students, we've actually had quite a few of them this year.
We got a freshman
first
as
year
a
students
chassis.
become section leaders because we actually go to our middle schools in May and start recruiting 8th graders in May, and they actually attend May and June of their 8th grade year as freshmen on our team or first year students on our team and come for the whole summer.
Go back to, if the freshman is the best person for the job, we'll put them in that job. If they show us the, encouragement stuff, it doesn't matter.
Basically, our pit chief
Yep.
was a freshman this year.
Yep.
You guys would probably never know he's a freshman because of
He
how
looks old and
composed and knowledgeable and skilled he is, and that's because he was the best person for the job, so he got the job, right? Next one, we kind of, like Clint was saying, we kind of throw some fun ones in here just to kind of gauge.
break the ice.
Break the ice and show our students that we're really not the scary bearded guy and the mean lady, right? So we asked new students, if you were stuck on a desert island and could only bring 3 things, what would you bring and why? This question is one of my favorite questions to read on the team application because you get those students that are like, well, I would bring an airplane and jet fuel and
Fly
a
off the
GPS,
island.
and I'd fly off that island.
Okay,
You're
that's
like,
pretty good.
Okay. Then
Other
you got
people are
somebody-
like coconut, a life supply of water, and I don't know.
Right, so it's actually hilarious to read some of these responses. And so when we announce who makes our FRC team, we always do a PowerPoint presentation that has like everybody's name on
Did you
it
know
or
that someone on
whatever.
the team would want to bring this, or
And so I actually copy paste some of their responses.
they're all anonymous usually?
Yes. Oh, and I put them up on a PowerPoint presentation that just kind of like rolls for like the hour before we announce who the teams are, and everybody like sits in our conference room and like watches it very intently.
The last few years, our team announcement of who made the team has been kind of a big deal, it seems like. Like, they're all super scared, and it's funny because every single person in that
But
room pretty much makes the team.
Let you in on a little secret. For the last 3 years, every student has applied to be on the FRC team has made it.
Yeah, we've never turned anyone. 3 years ago, we turned away people because we had 43, was it?
48.
48 or something, we had to turn them away, but our system of turning away was not what we wanted. They took a test, and we didn't like that, so we changed it.
Yeah.
We had to cut to 40.
Then our returning students, we asked them, are you interested in applying for a section leader position? This is the part where we really take students who've been on our team before and try to turn them into leaders. All of the students on the EngiNerds are encouraged to be a leader in one way or another. We understand that there are introverts. We understand there are people who don't want to get up in front of a room full of people and talk. We understand that there are people who don't want to talk to judges when they come into the pit. But there are different ways to be a leader. You don't have to be in charge of someone or something to be a leader. You just have to be a positive example. So we talk a lot about what was your most inspirational or impactful experience on the EngiNerds? When you've been on this team for 2 or 3 years, what have you learned the most about, or what has stuck with you the most? How has the team inspired you? What do you believe your most valuable contribution is? Then we ask them this question. Our students always say this is the hardest question for them, is as a member of the team, in which areas do you think you need to improve? This is the hardest one for students because identifying what you do wrong is hard. Talking about how you're going to change that is even harder. But we task our students with this challenge and they take it. And you would be amazed at the students who say, these are the 3 things that I think I need to work on and here are my goals to do it next season, and they do it. Like, it is amazing to see the progress in these students. We asked them to talk about their leadership and their work style. This is really good for us to kind of match up different or similar students to each other or match up different students to each other to try to make sure that our tasks get done. One question we always ask all of our students is, why should we choose you? Note that this question does not say, why should we choose you over someone else? This says, why would we choose you? So students can look at themselves and say, why am I worthy of this? And then our next one is, if you were stuck on a desert island with only one of our team's mentors, who would you choose and why, and how would you escape? This is amazing because our students come up with like every kind of answer. One time a student said that they would be stuck with Clint so they could shave his beard and make a raft out of it.
I was like, you realize how long we gotta be stuck on that island with you to achieve that?
Another one said I'd be stuck on an island with Brandi because she makes so many agendas that we could build a flotation device out of them. So we take it in good humor, and our students enjoy filling out the application because they know this question is coming. I haven't changed our team application very much in a couple of years, and one student at the end of last year was like, I know what I'm writing next year.
But their answers to the important questions do change, and you do see growth in the students.
And that's what we're looking for, right? We're looking for growth, we're looking for inspiration, and that's all we're looking for in these team applications. We're not looking for, are you qualified for the job? Or do you belong on our team? We are looking for, does the team belong with you? Right? For our student section leader application, it's kind of a lot of the same things, but it applies back to this specific section. So why should we choose you to be in charge of our code? What have you done with the code to ensure that the code section is going to be the best ever? So the one that always gets our students is this one right here. What is your greatest hesitation in becoming a student section leader? Why is it going to be hard for you? It's difficult for a lot of people to assess that. And again, why should we choose you? You'll notice this is a running theme. Why should we choose you? For IRI, We talked a little bit about what IRI is. It's a very, very, very competitive competition. So we only take basically our cream of the crop. Some years we've taken 5 students. This past year we took 12, I think. So it just depends on the year.
Sometimes it depends on the vehicles and how many people are driving.
That's basically the determining factor for IRI is how many mentors or adults do we have that are driving in butts for seats for butts. So again, it goes back to what have you contributed that we should pick you. So you'll notice none of these questions have a right answer or a wrong answer. It's all about a student finding the best thing about themselves and expressing that. And this goes back to the whole reason of why we've seen our confidence and our leadership and our success of our students grow since we've done this is because they're recognizing their personal pluses, they're recognizing their personal deltas, and they're turning those deltas into pluses, which is the best thing that a student can possibly do for his or herself. Okay? Promise, it's good.
Presentations with game sound effects.
Okay. Well, I'll be honest, Clint kind of brought up the whole babysitting fact earlier. There was a time on the EngiNerds when I was a glorified babysitter. I worked in daycare before I had Lucas, and it was cheaper for someone to send their kid to be on the EngiNerds for 6 weeks than it was to send a kid to actual daycare for a week. So I was a really good deal as a babysitter. And I didn't want to be in that situation anymore. And I'm not in that situation anymore. I mean, between the students actually having to take it somewhat seriously to apply, fill out their application. We also have a minimum GPA. Our students have to have a 2.5 GPA, which does not seem like a lot, but it's only 1.75 for sports in our school. Yeah. So they have to have a 2.5 GPA and 0 missing assignments at school.
We have a tendency during the season, students' grades go up during robotics season, and then they sometimes drop afterwards because they maintain it during the season because they know they have to, otherwise they won't go.
Yep.
Me and Brandi, sorry, I don't know if people know this, we don't mess around. If we say you're not going, if you don't have it, you're not going. So don't even try to test us and call our bluff because you're not going to win.
I'm tough.
I got a royal flush here.
I'm small but mighty. Okay. So these are some things to consider if you're thinking to yourself, should I make an application? Think about what you want your application to do on your team. Are you just trying to get information about your students? Are you at the point where you are take anybody that you can get? If you're like, we can't even get 6 kids on our team, let alone 35, you might not need an application other than what's your name, what's your phone number, what's your email address, do you get text messages, yes or no? Right? How big is your school? What is your membership potential? Part of the reason that we originally instituted having a application on our team is because we saw all of our middle school programs growing and growing and growing, and we were assisting in that. Currently in Grand Blanc schools, both of our middle schools, the coaches of the teams are parents of our alumni. So we are literally raising up EngiNerds. One of our teams at one of our middle schools is the Engia Cats, and we're the Bobcats in Grand Blanc. The other one is the Nerdlings. So they are literally growing EngiNerds. When you put the 2 middle schools together, you get the Engia Nerds. So it's really cool for us to see that, and we were scared because we were like 100 kids on the East Middle School teams and 40 kids on the West Middle School teams. 10% of those graduate and move up. That's a lot of people. Plus all the other people that are interested in robotics because of what these middle school teams have. We're in trouble because we can't fit 100 people in our facility. We don't have room on a bus for 100 people. Okay, so what is your membership potential? If you are at a school and you have 200 people in your entire 9 through 12 building, you probably don't need it for the purpose of cutting people down and making people more serious.
Yeah, I mean nowadays on our team, it's the application's taken at a point that if we ever have 41 people apply to be on our team, one person won't make the team. You know, like that's just what it's going to be. We haven't been in that situation yet, but it could come to that point at some point. So when people apply, they really take time and effort to put the effort into their application. So, and it kind of, by someone writing it or typing it, it kind of like solidifies it a little bit, right? Like I'm going to try to do this on the team next year. And
Right
it's like,
there. Does your team have a goal that you're not meeting?
yeah, and the student wrote that. Now they're like, well, I did put that in my application that I was going to try to be more assertive or more timely and not late. You know.
Okay, do you want to learn more about your students? Are you spending so much time constantly raising the bar, which is what my entire next presentation is about? No, first presentation is about. That if from the very beginning you set out what is expected of students, starting with your team application, it's a lot easier to start up as the mean guy and then get nicer than it is to start up as like rainbows and unicorns and then be like, you listen here. So, more about my workshop. Steal from the best, design the rest. I'm not saying I'm the best.
We stole a lot of stuff from other teams.
I'm saying the teams that I stole from were the best, and the team before them was the best. And it's about making it the best for your team, right? Then design the rest.
Questions about applications? I know you want the contracts we're going to.
I'm going. I still got 30 minutes. I'm going to stay on time. Okay, team contracts. Okay.
What?
We have to be, we're
No,
good.
do you want me? I'll take 2 minutes. There's a bathroom right across the hall.
No, you're right.
Okay, all right. So, team contracts. Why raising the bar equals results. Team contracts are probably one of the things that I spend the most significant amount of time staring at a computer in front of my laptop for hours to make these things. These documents that you read, I created from scratch starting 10 years ago. I'm going to kind of go through a little bit about where we started and where we are now and why we made the changes that we made. So you know, like when you see like, I don't know, a 5-gallon bucket with a picture of a don't put your baby in this? It's because somebody actually put their baby in there because they thought it was a good idea. On the EngiNerds, most of our team contract has either come from positive or negative experiences that we have had with people on our team or other teams. We have learned this firsthand. I just hope that none of you have to learn it that way and you can learn it vicariously through my presentation. We will be honest with you about some of the things that we have encountered. They might not seem fun and I hope that you all don't have to encounter them, but unfortunately sometimes it happens, and the idea of a team contract is to guard you and your team against bad things happening to you when bad things happen in the world. Okay? So each team's contract is going to look different. It should look different. You guys see this running theme about I want to inspire you, not hand you a thing that you're going to copy paste, right? It's a document or series of documents, and on our team, they're created by the mentors. It's mainly me doing the legwork of it and Clinton being like, oh yeah, we need to add this thing, and then I turn it into part of the contract and try to fit it into where it goes.
She writes way better than me.
I'm kind of a grammar nerd. So, they're signed by students and parents. The students have to read them and sign them. The parents have to read them and sign them. Then they get turned into me and Clinton.
And with this, we typically treat it as a triangle is what we say, is we do a presentation on the contracts, guidelines, expectations. We give it to the parents at our mandatory parent meeting. The parents take it home and they're supposed to give it to the student. It's the responsibility of the student to bring it to us. Usually if a parent brings us the contract back, we're like, why are you bringing this back to us? It's not,
or if a student comes to the mandatory meeting and says, my mom can't come tonight, can I have my contract? We say, nope, we'll see your mom the next night.
We'll talk to them about it. So we want it to go from the parent to the student back to us so that the three of us, the team, if you will, is the third person, we all have an understanding of the expectations and the guidelines and conduct and all that stuff.
All right, so how has implementing a team contract affected the EngiNerds? I will say we have always had some form of a team contract since our rookie year, since our very first meeting, before we even decided that we were going to start the team. We sat down with our two founding members who were high school students. We wrote bylaws and we developed our team contract with those two students, and they've kind of...
They were never in their final form.
Yes, that's true. But I feel like the integrity of those documents that were our original documents has been maintained throughout the last 10 years. It's increased a lot of credibility with our school district. For all of our competitions that we go to, We have to get approval from either our principal or our board of education, depending on where we're going, whether or not we're staying overnight, whether or not we're going out of state. And just the fact that they see the expectations that our students have been set with and have exceeded, they trust us. They look at us and they're like, we need more organizations like the EngiNerds because our students conduct themselves with such integrity. Parents and students take us more seriously. Our first year when Clinton and I started the team, we were like 23 or 24. We had
I was 23, she was 24.
Yeah. So we had a lot of parents on our team that were like, I got kids older than you. What makes you think you could run a team? Having documents like this makes us credible. I still get mistaken for a high school student. I don't know when this is going to end, but I would really like it to. When people find out I have a kid, they think I made really bad choices. It's not true, but it does make people take us more seriously when the first thing a student does when they come to a team meeting is they're handed a team contract and they're told, take this home and read it to see if the EngiNerds is a place for you. Okay. And everyone understands their expectations. When you hand them a document from the very first go and say, these are all of the things that we're going to be expecting from you, they understand that and they're going to live up to that. And our backs are covered. We actually also have on top of our team contract, and not included in this because it's a legal document, we actually have a legal document, like an agree not to sue document for our team because
For
of
our facility.
Yes, because of a situation that happened at our facility to guard the team, its mentors, and the place that gives us our facility from lawsuits. So that's something that we also include in our team contract, okay? And I will tell you, having this has created way less anxiety and stress and way more success for our team. So our team member contract, it's what you have to do to become and stay a member. So after you fill out your team application, or actually before you fill out your team application, you're given one of these team member contracts. And what this allows us to do is basically say, if you are a member, a potential member, a past member, this is what we expect of you. And a lot of you guys who have said like how our team seems so large to you, it's because from the get-go our students are given these expectations and they live it and they become part of the family and they stick with us for a really long time. What you expect your students to do and how you expect them to act are two totally different things. Behavior is a lot different than, say, getting good grades and turning in their assignments, right? Not force playing and doing your schoolwork are two totally different things, but we expect both of our students, or expect our students to do both of those things. They will live up to the expectations, or they're off the team. I mean, that's pretty much the cut and dry of it.
At the end of the day, if anyone was to break any of the contracts, we say that you can be, basically you forfeit the rest of your fees, you're not going to get that money back, and we can ask you to remove the team or be removed from the facility.
So,
The facility either at Premier, which is our building facility, or even event. With events, we even state that if a student was to do something, I mean, most of this is egregious, obviously, that if we're traveled somewhere, the parent has to come pick them up.
and we've had it happen before where we've had to call parents and have them drive halfway across the state to pick up
Very,
their kids.
very few.
I will say I can count on one hand in 10 years the amount of students or mentors that we've either had to ask to leave our team or have left our team on bad terms, or we've had to use this. The reason we haven't had to use it is because it's there, right? We've noticed that low expectations create careless parents and students. Parents are the big one. If you don't expect your parents to help you, if you don't expect your parents to fill a role, if you don't expect your parents to come to events, a lot of them won't. A lot of students will say, Mom, Dad, you don't have to come to my event, it's fine, just, you don't have to come. Well, we tell our parents, if you can be there, we want you to be there. If your kid says, Mom, don't come, say Clinton and Brandi told me to, so I'm going to be there.
We don't demand they come, obviously, but we encourage them and we tell them that the expectation is that you encourage your son or daughter to do their best ability and you come and support them. That's kind of what our parent one kind of says.
So our rookie year, way back in 2008, our team member contract was one piece of paper, front and back. It had team member expectations and team member conduct guidelines. So your expectations are about attendance and participation, about what's mandatory, what's not mandatory. On the EngiNerds, we now have probably 4 mandatory things a year. Usually it's the very beginning of the year when we distribute the team contract. It's our travel meeting before we do our first overnight, our can drive before championship, and the meeting that we do before championship to collect all of the documentation that we need to go out of state. So like 4 things, and they're basically things where parents and students have to come and turn something in. So all of that's outlined. Back then it wasn't. It basically just said, you will get out of this program what you put into it. If you want to show up an hour a week, you're going to get the responsibility of the person who's there for an hour a week. You can't drive a robot and be on the pit crew if you know nothing about the team, you know nothing about the robot. You have to earn your position. Student-mentor relations and student-student relations, about being professional and doing things that are within YPP guidelines and those kind of things. So legal stuff, gracious professionalism, making sure every student on your team knows what this is and knows what it means. Know and maintain your role. This is a big one for our students who have multiple obligations of their time, if they're in band or sports or those kind of things, is being realistic and teaching them to be realistic about the amount of time that they have to dedicate to something, and not maybe taking on the most important, most prestigious, most time-consuming role if you know you're only going to be able to be there Mondays and Wednesdays. Okay. Just ask. This is a big one on our team that we talk about the fact that there's no such thing as a stupid question. And then we step back and say, maybe that's not the best question. But, you know, we've always had students on our team that we encourage them to be curious. We encourage them to look into things. We encourage them to try new things. And if they don't know, like, I don't know where the scissors are, instead of using tin snips to cut a piece of paper, ask where the scissors are, right? And I will tell them that they're in the drawer labeled scissors. Opportunity to learn and teach. Exactly what I'm doing right now. I'm taking the opportunity to teach you guys something that I have learned, and we expect all of our students to do the same thing. It amazes me when a new student shows up for their very first meeting. I don't have to be like, hey, you guys, show them around. Somebody shows up, I mean, Jeremy, you've been there, and they like not swarm new people, but it's like an honor for someone to take a new person or a mentor from another team or a student from another team on a tour of our facility and put a wrench in their hand and teach them how to do something. I think your kids were working on robots at our facility the first day that they came there, because it's something that our students are so passionate about, is teaching other people.
Or getting all efficiency out of every student that walks in our building, one of the two.
All voices heard one at a time. Basic respect things, support, encouragement, and respect. Talks a lot about the fact that, going back to your issue with your board, supporting the mentors, encouraging the mentors, and respecting the mentors and the goals and visions of the team. Instead of doing what is in the best interest of a single person, doing what is in the best interest of the team and its financial, membership, and emotional stability. Participation, behavior expectations, and being a member is a privilege, because on the insurance it is. Now our team document here in the 2017 FRC season is 6 pages to it. It's 3 pieces of paper front and back now instead of 1 piece of paper front and back now. So team member expectations are still our eligibility requirements. You must meet these bullet points before you can be on our team. If you want to travel, you have to have a 2.5 and no missing assignments. If you want...
So all the stuff in the first slide here are still included. They're all still in our expectations and guidelines, but we've added additional ones too.
So team member basic conduct guidelines, and some of these may have had additional bullet points added to them.
Yeah.
We added a team parent expectations document. And it's very much an echo of our student expectation documents, but it talks about things like representation of our team without the consent of our board, our pro boarder, Clinton and I. It talks about having them involved.
Going to partners and trying to represent and say, oh yeah, give us $200, we'll put you giant on the back of the shirt. Most definitely. Not allowed. That's in the parent expectations that they're not allowed to do that kind of stuff. If you're wearing our shirt or something like that, of how we expect them to act and be in the stands, that they're not allowed to boo at the refs and stuff like that, or we'll ask them to leave.
Are those on your website?
Yeah.
I'll show you how to get to them all. Yep,
Okay.
I've got a link up here.
Actually, our students get a Thursday shirt, a Friday shirt, a Saturday mechanic shirt, a sweatshirt, hoodie,
Safety glasses.
a toolkit, and they will eventually get a banquet shirt and a travel shirt.
And a varsity letter.
And a varsity
For
letter.
$325.
And that includes travel to travel to 2 district events and the Michigan State Championship, hotel at 2 of those 3 events, a dinner on every Saturday after every event. And
Dinners throughout the build season on Saturday lunch, Saturday dinner, and Sunday dinner. But the way we do that one, it's
right here,
part of the
meal expectations.
Yeah, we have meal expectations. Every team member has to provide 1 meal
To the whole team.
to the team on either a build weekend or at an event. So like when we have, like if we go to the Kettering district and we have lunch on Friday, a parent has to provide a meal. They can order pizza, they can bring chili, they can do whatever they
They
want.
can make a homemade meal,
They
cater
can call
it
a
in, I
cater
don't care.
company and pay tons of money, whatever you want. But it's up to you, and you have to provide at least one. We have a whole calendar and we have to fill that out. That's part of the additional.
That's part of why it takes me 6 hours to organize everything, because I'm setting up this calendar
I'd
and
like
all
to
that.
talk to a t-shirt vendor.
We
Let's
use
say
Flint City
t-shirts.
t-shirts here in Flint.
We buy a lot of shirts.
Well, that was part 2 of the seminars that the EngiNerds were graciously enough to offer at Kettering Kickoff. And if you can't tell, there's a ton of information that was contained in that seminar. I want to thank Team 2337, the EngiNerds out of Grand Blanc, and Clinton and Brandi Bollinger for giving that seminar. Next week will be the last seminar that they gave, and I'll look forward to that. In the meantime, don't forget, if you have a team that's out there and you're a new team like mine, register for your events. Right now is open on First, and get those grant information in. See if you can get some money for your team. I would like to thank you for listening to the 35th episode of the Robozone podcast. You can feel free to follow us on SoundCloud, iTunes, and on Google. So, with that, have a great night. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next week.
The Robozone podcast is brought to you by Kettering University. It's a Kettering-built world. Thanks for listening to the Robozone podcast with your host, Pete Ekman. Find us online at robozonetv.com and on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram.